All right, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of the PTFootyPodcast. I'm your host Peter, as usual. I'm joined with Alex,
What's going on, everybody?
Timo,
What's going on, peeps?
and David.
Hi there, thanks for having me.
All right, we're happy to have you here. Kevin can't come to today's podcast because he's feeling sick, so we'll do our best to replace him, being as unbiased as we can. And Kyle had some last minute issues, so he had to go as well. But we're all here, so it's okay. We're gonna start off talking Portugal. I want to briefly say that we played Gibraltar, won 5-0. I went to that game. Uh, Seeing it live, there's only a couple things that I want to point out. I want to point out that Andre Silva is an absolute machine. Watching him live, he's so good. Like he's incredibly good. He's super talented. And I was actually hoping he'd score because the crowd was like super behind him, being at Porto and all that. So that's one thing to point out. And the other one is that I think that national teams should start to have a clock, basically, an organized supporting group, because it needs more environment. Like it needs to be better than it is, because it seems like everybody's really quiet, and then you have sparks of time where everybody's singing, but then 5 minutes later everybody's quiet again. It's very inconsistent. I actually want to hear your guys' thought about that. David, I'm not sure if you ever went to an England game, but how do you feel the atmosphere is over there in the matches?
So international football with England, they've had a band for quite a few years, which personally I don't really like. I'm not a big fan of it. I like the fans to start the chants and everyone to get involved. I'm not a big fan of instruments in the ground. But then at the same time, I do like the idea of a kind of organised group starting the chants and then the chants reverberating around the stadium, people joining in. So, like you say, there's no quiet periods where when the game's dead, nothing's happening on the pitch. It's the fans' job to lift the team and keep them going.
Tim, how do you feel about that?
I agree with David. I would actually like to see a big organized group for the national teams, obviously, especially Portugal. Just, it does add to the atmosphere. There's nothing like going to a professional sporting event, especially football in Europe. I've been to, numerous games, whether it be Benfica Porto. I've been to Porto Benfica. I've also been to a Sporting Port game. Belenenses Port, and there's always a lot of noise. There's always a lot of push behind the team, and nothing motivates a team. Even if it's not a professional team, nothing motivates you than hearing a crowd behind you. Not any of this whistling stuff, but more so like these songs. All these beautiful chants, like we're all accustomed to hearing in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Alex, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I'm really sorry, but I was doing something, so I didn't really hear the question.
Uh, Basically, I said that I think that we need an organized supporting group for national team games, because I think it's too quiet at times. Do you agree with us? Or?
Of course I agree that the better the atmosphere, the better it is for just the casual fans that show up for the game and the players on the pitch. So, of course, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest thing that I took out of it. It was super interesting to go watch Portugal, because it was my first time ever. Everybody was happy that we won the European Championship. It was nice seeing the cup. It was a great experience. Uh, Moving on to first things, we played Switzerland. I know that Timo and David did not watch the game, so I'll try and be as brief as I can. Alex, we've watched the game though. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna give our lineup here real quickly. Patricio in goal, obviously. Cedric, Pep, and Rafael Guerreiro were the fullbacks. Were the back. William and Adrian in the midfield. Bernardo Silva and Eder as the one striker. Uh, Alex, what do you take out of this game? What were our mistakes? What do we have to improve on?
Uh, we let in a couple sloppy goals. The defense got caught standing around for the first goal. But normally I'm pretty biased, but I'm gonna stop trying to be biased. Patricio definitely should have parried that out to somewhere like not right in front of him, like he normally does. And that
Hmm.
costed us. But we were caught standing around for that first goal, so that's got to change. But there are some positives that we could take from that game. I think that Bernardo Silva, he deserved a place in the team. I think that in that second half we were very good and unlucky to not score in that second half.
It just didn't want to go in. That was my idea. Now, you're a very vocal Adrian Silva fan.
Yes,
Uh,
I am.
but what did you think of his performance today? Because I think he was very subpar.
I think he had like an average performance. It wasn't great, but I don't think you were saying it was bad in our little group chat, but I don't think it was that bad. His first half wasn't great, but I don't know. I don't know. It was an average game for him. Expect to see better from one of the best midfielders in the world. So
Yeah, for someone him to have such a bad game, it's something that you're not used to seeing. Um,
normally he's Mr. Consistent, but if he wants to stay in as a starter in the Portugal side, then he's got to improve for sure.
Definitely. Another one that I want to talk about, and this one I'm going to extend to everybody because it's a personal opinion thing. William Carvalho went off at half time because he was disastrous. Really, he played bad again. And Timo, I'll start with you. If you had to choose between Danilo and William, which one would you choose?
So I think you already know my answer on this. When it comes to both players, it's going to depend on how you're going to play. For the way I like a team set up, which is very, um, you know, oriented around a true number six destroyer, if you will, I would pick Danilo over William all day long. I think he's a better tackler. I think he's better in the air. I think he's a bit of a better passer. And when I mean by passing, I mean with the ball going forward as opposed to just side to side passes and passing back.
Mhm.
If you're going into a game where you might have say two holding midfielders or the double pivot, if you will, I think William would suffice. I just think Danilo is a better overall, destroyer of plays. I think he does better at stopping the opponents from coming through the midfield, where I don't think William is as good as that.
And if you watch the tape, if you rewatch this game whenever you have the time, you'll notice that that was exactly what we needed most of the times because we were leaving out some big spaces. Uh, David, you watch our league, you watch games, you probably watch the Euros as well. Who would you take, William Carvalho or Daniel Pereira?
I think William is a really strange player because at times he looks amazing. He looks world class. He can push people off the ball. He can pick a pass. He can drive the team forward. And then the next minute he can trip over, misplace a 10-yard pass. So I just find him inconsistent within games and also between games. Danilo, I don't think is has the same ability as William, but I think he's just a much more consistent player. I think William can give you a 9 out of 10 performance one week and a 6 the next week, whereas Danilo is always going to give you a 7, 7.5. So if you want a low risk strategy, pick Danilo. But when William's on form, I understand that he's an asset to the team.
I think that's a perfect way of explaining it, David.
Thank you.
So do I, actually.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, he reminds me a lot like Daisy. He can go on for a couple of matches and be world class, and then be bad for like a whole month. Um, but yeah, this is basically it that we have to talk about the game against Switzerland. We got a little bit unlucky, although I have to say in the second half we definitely did. We deserved at least one goal. We did enough to do that. And then Nani hit the post, very unlucky. Once again, I think he's proving to be a good player for Portugal. Rafael Guerreiro is continuously impressing me. He's a tremendous footballer and probably going to be world class soon. And yeah, I think we lacked in the midfield, and that's why João Mário and André Silva came on, especially to modify the midfield. Um, but moving on now, we're gonna talk Porto. And this will be Kevin's doing, but we're gonna be here discussing this, and I'm gonna give a ask you guys' opinion on all this. But first, I just want to name Porto squad, and obviously it's gonna be difficult for you to keep up, but I have some questions preset. So anyway, the Porto squad is Casillas, Jessa, and João Costa as the goalkeepers. They have Maxi, Layun, Alex Teres as the fullbacks, Felipe, Boli, Marcano, and Shidozi as the center backs. Evandro, Herrera, Danilo, André, Oliver Torres, Sérgio Oliveira, Ruben Neves, and João Teixeira in the midfield. Brahimi, Corona, Otávio, Jota, and Varela as the wingers. André Silva, De Poitre, and Adrian Lopes, obviously. One of the things that I want to ask you guys, and I asked Kevin last week, and Kevin said that they should loan out a player, should loan in a player, someone for the fullback position. Um, David, I'm gonna start with you. Do you think that Porto have enough depth at the fullbacks when they only have Maxi, Layun, and Alex Telles?
No, I don't think they do actually. And I was looking at the squads briefly before I came on the show tonight, and looking at the Porto squad, it is very unbalanced, as you say. They've got tons of midfielders, but they don't have that many defenders. So I mean, any injuries or suspensions, I think they're going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Tim, you share the same opinion on this?
I do. I think they're very midfield and from midfield and forward, meaning into the forward third. I think they're very heavy in that sense. I think they actually lack a lot, not only in the fullback department but also the center back department.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you guys. I don't think there's really much to touch upon here. And on the strikers, there's also a thing that I think that they're lacking there as well. Do you guys share the opinion, or do you think that André Silva, De Poitre, and Adrian Lopes will be able to get the job done? Alex, I'll let you go on this one.
Sorry, what?
Great. Do you think?
Pay attention, Alex.
Exactly, pay attention. Do you think that André Silva, De Poitre, and Adrian Lopes are enough options for Porto?
I don't really like the Poitre and Adrian Lopez, but Andre Silva, he's great. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't really seen much of the other two. I mean, 3 strikers should be enough for the whole season, including like since they have the B team as well. It should be enough. I don't know if they have enough quality in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sporting. We do.
Oh my god.
We have the best depth in the league, in my opinion.
We'll get onto that. We'll get onto that.
It's better than Benfica.
Oh, Jesus.
I shouldn't be saying that. I should just be saying Benfica's better because it's kind of like three versus one here. But
Sorry about it. We're all gonna be as biased as we can. David, do you believe that André Silva, De Poitre, and Adrian Lopes will be able to get the job done for Porto?
I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think it's placing a lot of pressure on the young shoulders of André Silva. Like you say, I'm very excited about him. I think it's going to be a big season for him, and he could be the striker that Porto and Portugal are crying out for. But the other two I'm not convinced about, and De Poitre is new to the team. It's going to take him a while to settle in. I think it's just a lot of pressure on Silva to score the goals for Porto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's the main man for them, and not really the best. To just leave it out for one guy. I mean, it worked out with Renato Sanches for Benfica, but I mean that's one time in a million that works out. So there's a couple of other things that I want to point out. I want to point out that Abubakar is gonna stay with Besiktas as their president, as I already said that he's gonna pick up on the 10 million euros buy option. Timo, do you think that that's a good deal for Porto?
They paid, what, 7 and change for him?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I mean, at least they're making money on him. Ababubi, as I like to call him. Never really had, much of, any great showings. So, I think they bought high on him, thinking they'd be able to sell him even higher, like Pinto Corsa always thinks he can do. And unfortunately for them, it seems like he struck out on him, kind of like they did with Mbula. I think they overvalued whatever they saw from wherever these players came from. I think with Porto, as long as you're not losing money, I think you're golden in that case with the player that you've had for a year and a half, and then you see no use for. If you're still making money in that sense, then I think you still did well.
All right. Another thing that I want to touch upon about, and it's the center back department here. Would you guys personally would have let Diego Reyes or Martins Indy go? Timo.
I'll take that a step back even more. At this point, I think many producers would actually prefer to have Mike Hahn back and not have let him go. If I was in their boat, he'd be the player that I'd want in that central position. I know he did whatever people said he did. He turned his back on a club or whatever. He's still the most talented center back that they would have today, I think. But now in terms of Martin Zindi or Reyes, I agree with what others have said on last week's podcast that Martin Zindi looks a bit lazy, or looks like he's a bit, out in no man's land or out of space at times. But I still think he'd be better than not having him. Let's face it, you have 3 center backs right now. One of them gets hurt, what happens? At least keep him, on board and keep him there, even if he's not going to be playing much. I really don't think you want to be moving Danilo into the center back position, which I know is an option. I don't think you'd want to, risk opening up the midfield in that case.
I have the list right here with me, and it helps me out a lot. If you move Danilo to center back, who do you have? You have possibly Evandro to do defensive midfielder and Ruben Neves. That is nowhere near enough.
Yeah, it's not Danilo class, but I think Neves, giving him an opportunity here and there, would be okay. But I don't think you'd want to have him be your starting defensive midfielder in the event that, say, one of your center backs gets hurt and now you need Danilo to be there for, say, 5 games in a row. I don't think you want to risk that.
And not even just that. I think that you would be underutilizing Andre because you'd have to have him next to Ruben Neves, and obviously you'd have to have more defensive duties than he used to, and you're just not getting the full potential out of him as well. So it's a big issue for Porto. I think they should have kept at least Diego Reyes, because Martins Indy is probably going to give him profit, but they should have kept at least Diego Reyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The other thing that I want to talk about, and this one I'm going to direct it straight to David, because it's even how you portray Portuguese clubs with what happened with Brahimi. He's going to stay with the club, and supposedly he had deals that weren't that Pinto Costa didn't let him go to Everton, something like that. What's your opinion on this, David? How do you react to this situation? What would you have done with Brahimi?
I think maybe they should have cut their losses and accepted the best bid that came in this window, because I think relations between him and the club are so bad now, and his attitude has been so bad that I wouldn't want him playing for the club, and I don't think he's not going to just suddenly flick a switch and start producing his best form again. So they've got a player on their hands who's not happy in the dressing room, and that's not really a good thing for the squad. I would have taken the money myself.
Alex, this is something that I want to ask you, because you sort of had the same issues. With Brahimi, he had a move blocked by Pinto Costa for him not to go to Everton. Now he's back with the squad. How would you have dealt with it?
I would have sold it. What was the fee on that? Like 40 million or something like that? 35 million?
I believe it was 40 million.
I would have sold him and I snapped my fingers. Right when they bring up 40 million, he was gone. With no hesitation. I don't know why they would block that move, especially when they just brought in Jota. They even brought in Oliver Torres. They have Otavio who's playing well. So I mean, it just doesn't make sense why they block it and why they'd even, especially with his attitude towards the club, why would they want to bring him back like David said? So it doesn't make much sense to me. I would have just sold him for the 40 million because that's double his price in my opinion.
Tim, you have the same opinion as everybody on this one?
Yeah, same exact one. I thought, the initial fee was 40, but then somewhere I heard that it was possibly down to 30. The only thing that I believe what ended up happening is I do really think the fee never got to the 40 million, and we all need to keep in mind that Porto, whatever they pay on him, they only make half. Whatever they sell, they only make half. That might be a big factor. They might be hoping for a bigger payday.
How is he going to get a bigger payday when he's not even playing? He's not even training in
No.
the squad. How do you deal with this?
No, exactly. I mean, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I would have sold him for 30 million. Get him off the team. Get him the hell out of there.
Yeah, I don't really get it. And Kevin as well says that they should have accepted it, so he's on the same boat as us. There's one last player that I want to touch upon, and this is a guy that I really, really like, and it could fit in with the Brahimi thing as well. Why do you let Hernani go? Because he impressed me a lot. And team, we saw Guimarães and how they almost finished first in the first half of the season 2 years ago, I believe, and he was major key for them. How do you let someone like Hernani, that's actually a very decent player, go on loan again, not even giving him a chance?
I can't speak for what their president does. I mean, our team has maybe done the same thing with others, but I mean, when you see a player like that who has done that well for another team, which really is not up technically to your team standards, and he's able to keep them almost in first place like that, you definitely wouldn't let him go. You'd keep him around. And even if he's coming off the bench, at least you have a player of that caliber to help you.
Yeah, David, I'm sure that you were around 2 years ago when Guimarães had that storming run with Rui Vitória, with players the likes of Paulo Oliveira and Hernani. Why do you think that Porto let Hernani go?
The only thing I can think of is that they don't think he's the complete player. I mean, he obviously has the pace and the trickery to unlock a defence and make something happen in a game. Maybe they just don't feel he has the all-round game in terms of putting in a shift defensively, consistency. These are the things of these flair players that clubs are often wary of, and that's the only thing I can think of in his case.
Yeah, okay, I think everybody has the same opinion on this. I was actually very sad when he joined Porto because I really, really like him personally. Before we move on from Porto, there's only two things that I want to point out. I asked Kevin to give out his ideal starting 11 for Porto, and he said that he would like to see José Sá in goal. Then, obviously, because of Max's injury, Layun, Filipe, Boli, and Alex Telles. He would also like Danilo and Andre in the midfield with Oliver in front of them. Corona or Jota in one of the wings, then Otavio on the other, and André Silva. Honestly, I think this is the closest they can get to one of their best starting 11s. The last thing that I want to touch upon is ask you guys' opinion. I'm not going to ask about Guimarães because obviously we know that's going to be difficult for Porto, but they are at home, so they should get the win. But how do you guys feel about the game against Copenhagen? Is it going to be an easy win? Alex, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think of Porto's chances versus Copenhagen?
I think that they should definitely get 3 points. They should they'll win that game comfortably, in my opinion.
Timo, do you share the same opinion?
They'll get the win. I don't know how comfortably it'll be. We need to remember that most teams that are in the Champions League are not going to be a cakewalk, and that goes for all groups. Even though Porto has what essentially is the easiest group, any of those teams can beat any of the others. I really do think Porto is going to come out first or second in the group, probably second. I don't think any games.
The second to who though? Like who's first? Who finished first on that group?
Leicester, without a doubt.
You really think so?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think Porto's finishing first.
Everybody seems to have a very, very, very short-term memory in how good Leicester played last year. They really haven't lost anybody other than Conte. They're still going to dominate many teams in the EPL. Let's remember that. Not to mention now they also have another striker on the side of Vardy who can both pretty much play very well. I mean, Slimani, I know, regardless of what team he came from or whatever, he can score goals. So I really think people aren't giving Leicester their proper due. Leicester's going to win that group.
But you also have to remember that they lost N'Golo Kante as well.
I just said that. That's the only player they lost was Kante.
And he was probably their best player in my opinion. Without them, they would not have won the league.
I think he was their most important player. In terms of keeping the team together and keeping defensively, but they're still going to dominate a lot of teams.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree that they shouldn't be underestimated, but I think one thing that you have to consider here with Leicester is that last season they were only playing Premier League. They weren't playing in Europe, and so they had a lot more rest, and that's one thing that helped them when they were playing the big teams in the Premier League. This season it's going to be a completely different challenge for them because they're going to be playing 2 games a week against top quality opposition, and although there hasn't been a massive change in their squad, it's going to be a shock to them to have to play those extra games. So I think Porto probably will come out on top, but Leicester maybe to come in second.
And I was gonna add that to help out Timo on this one, Benfica did always used to lose Javi Garcia, and people were saying, oh, now Benfica lost the heart of their midfield, and then they got Matic, and then we lost Matic, and Feza came in. So Alex, you're saying about Kante was good for them? Yeah, he was, but they don't. They're gonna bounce back, I think. And David, you touched upon Leicester, but about Copenhagen, do you think Porto will beat them?
I think they'll beat them. It's also good that Porto are starting off at home, so that works in their favour as well. To be honest, I'm very jealous of Porto's draw. I think they've definitely got the easiest draw of the 3.
Oh, I'm very jealous.
Big clubs. So I think if they don't come through, they'll be very, very disappointed.
Yeah, if they don't come through, something's definitely wrong with them. I mean, to not take anything away from Copenhagen and whatever the hell they got as well. I honestly don't. See, they're so important that I don't even know.
Bruges. Yeah.
Okay, Bruges and Copenhagen are decent sides.
European football.
Yeah, definitely big teams like Real Madrid. And that's like
Dortmund as well.
Exactly, that's our cue to move on
Just
to Sporting.
we're 50. It was a 50% chance, and we could have got that group with CSK. Like, I was gutted when we drew that group.
Did you Real Madrid and you're like,
I didn't even watch the end of that group. I turned it off once we got drawn into that group.
It's just like,
I still think we're gonna go, but
this is just a dream. All right, though, Alex. Moving on to Sporting and your favorite topic. I believe you also have the squad with you, so that should help you out. But I'm still gonna mention them out. So Rui Patricio, Beto, and Asbe Yug, 2 very capable goalkeepers. In Patricio and Beto, obviously. Then they got Skeloto, João Pereira, Gaio, Jefferson, and Marvin as the fullbacks. Then they got Paulo Oliveira, Douglas Coates, and Ruben Semedo. A midfield consisted of Adrian, William, Meli, Paulista, Elias, and Petrovic. Gelson, Campbell, Mateus Pereira, Brian Ruiz, Markovic, and Bruno César as the wingers. And their strikers, André, Luke Castanhos, Alan Ruiz, Bas Dost, and Lucas Palvis. What do you think of your squad, Alex? And would you have changed anything?
I would have brought in maybe one more center back, or not loaned out Paulinho. But other than that, I mean, I'm very, very happy with our squad. We're lacking some depth up top before, and now we just signed Andre, and Dos and Castañas. I mean, we lost Slimani, obviously, but I'm very happy. I think we got the best team in the league, the most depth, and I'm excited to win the title.
Alex, there's something here that it's just it's completely different from Porto. You go from a team that has Maxi Layun and Alex Telles as the fullbacks to Sporting that has Keloto, João Pereira, Gaio, Jefferson, and Marvin. You have absolutely no excuses to have fully fit fullbacks, right?
Yeah, we'll always have fully fit fullbacks, which is a good thing. But we also don't have as much midfield depth as Porto does. So I mean, it kind of balances itself out there. But I'm excited. Ashkelon could play on both flanks. So could Scalotto. So I'm pretty happy with the squad, and JJ's making huge improvements to the team, and I think this is one of the best teams of all time for Sporting. But I mean, Kevin disagreed with me and said the one that made the Europa League final. But I don't know. I think this one personally.
Timo, you're around from that time. What's the best Sporting team in your opinion? This one that they got set up for this year, or back in 2004 when they went to the Euro final?
The one that last won a championship 15 years ago.
Obviously, you had to go with that one.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're correct. You're correct.
No, I mean, I won't go that far. I do think that, this might be one of the better teams. I really don't think you can say that it is the team that's got the most depth in Portugal. I also don't think you can say it's the team that has the best quality in Portugal either. The one thing they do have going for them, though, is obviously a very, very good coach who knows how to work with what he has. And I can say that based on, Benfica at one point losing 2/3 of their starting lineup, and they still won the championship the following year. I think JJ himself is probably worth as much as a really good squad. I can say that again as well because I also remember the 2012-2013 year where we had an unbelievable team and then we lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Alex that this is a good Sporting side. I just don't think. Or should I say, I think he's going a little too far with how great he thinks the team is.
Do you think it's better than Benfica's squad?
Do I think it's better than Benfica's squad? I do not. I think we have better strikers. We got better wingers.
So.
We got
we got the better wingers. You guys might have this.
Guys, hold on. Sorry.
Listen, hang on. Let me just say something real quick.
Hold on, Alex. You'll be able to say that after, because we're going to discuss. We're going to put one squad
so
the other one.
Everyone always wants to talk about Benfica.
Oh God! We're gonna discuss both of the squads, one right next to the other, after we discuss Benfica. So keep calm.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Alex. Would you rather have kept Coates as you did, or would you prefer to keep Naldo?
I'd prefer to keep Coates personally. I think he's a better match with Ruben Semedo. So.
Guys,
isn't Coates still on loan?
Yeah, yes.
Do we have an option to buy?
I don't know. I thought he was a loan. I wasn't positive, so that's why I was double checking.
He's a loan player for a second year now. And guys, help me out here, because not you, Alex, because you already gave your opinion. Am I the only one that thought that Naldo was a very capable center back?
Probably.
Really? You didn't like him? David, you've watched Sporting before. What did you think of Naldo? Because I thought he was actually pretty decent.
I think he's an average, solid defender. I think he's nothing special. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't think he's world class. I think he's just a squad player, really. So I don't think they would miss him very much.
Alright, but you guys think that Coates is better than him then?
Yeah, I'd rather have
He formed a
Coates.
good partnership with Semedo last season, so I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think Naldo's also got some anger problems or something.
I gotta point out to you guys that the team that started the season was Paulo Oliveira and Naldo, and they didn't concede a lot of goals as well. So I just thought that he was very capable. He surprised me because I thought he was going to be trash. Um, so I have to touch on this, even though I didn't want to, obviously. But Alex, how do you feel about your newest loanee, Markovic?
Oh, I love it. It's like a slap in the face to you guys. A nice slap. You know, you guys take Carrillo, we'll take Markovic. I mean, I think it's a kind of a fair trade-off. You know, Markovic is better, so you know, I'm pretty happy.
I wonder if Markovic was on Benfica, if he would be saying that Markovic was better than Carrillo on Sporting. I doubt it.
Obviously
Of
not.
course, I'm not biased.
See, he just proved that he is biased.
I'm not at all
You would have
biased.
said last year you would have said Carrillo was better than Markovic. This year you're saying Markovic is better because he's on your team.
I'm not saying that at all.
He beats you to the punch there, Alex.
Thank you.
Carrillo.
Exactly. Get out of here, Alex. Stop it.
Alex, no point. But guys,
Somebody tell me why we invite Jimmy on this podcast, man. Somebody tell me why. Jeez.
all right, listen up though. This the other guys, because Alex you already gave out your opinion. But people, with Gelson, Campbell, Matheus Pereira, Brian Ruiz, and Bruno Cesar, did Sporting really need Markovic, or was it just like my dad said to take a slap at Benfica?
I'll go. I don't really think it was a slap at Benfica at all. You know, we all know that JJ is a very competent coach, and he understands what he has talent-wise. Markovic was a player that JJ loved, and he used, you know, often in many different spots. I think, you know, when the opportunity came knocking to get a player of his class, which, you know, in my opinion, when he's going, he's definitely, you know, an unbelievable player. I think, you know, you take that risk. I mean, it's essentially a free risk at a player who's 22, who at one point made other teams in your league look stupid. You take that risk.
Mm-hmm. Before I ask David his opinion, I want to point out that Kevin has just told us that Coates has a €5 million buy clause. You know, that Sporting have a buy clause on him, so they can purchase him at the end of the year. David,
sure
now
will.
your opinion. Yeah, they probably will. David, on your opinion, with Gelson, Campbell, Matheus Pereira, and Brian Ruiz, and Bruno Cesar, did they really need Markovic?
I think they did because, like you say, they do have quite a few wingers already in the squad. But I think Markovic is just a class above. I think he's technically the most gifted of the lot. You saw that when he was at Benfica. He could win a game single-handedly. Magical feet, close control, pace, acceleration. I'm surprised he hasn't made it big with Liverpool, and I think he's going to be a great player for Sporting. I'm not too upset that he's going to Sporting and not Benfica because Benfica just have so many wingers. They couldn't take any more in their squad right now. So I don't think there's any cause for jealousy there. But maybe if he scores in this study the season, I might change my opinion.
I mean, sad about that because I always really liked him. Go on, Timo.
I mean, I still like the player, and you know, I'm sure Alex favorited or liked or whatever the hell you call it on Twitter. I'm sure he liked my tweet.
Opinion.
Yes, where you know I am not at all mad that he went to Sporting because he's a player. You know, he's a player that I do like, and he's a player who, you know, I really would love to see successful, you know, at a big club. You know, I hope he does well at Sporting, you know, without winning trophies, of course, and that, you know, Liverpool ends up, you know, losing out, you know, on this player. You know, I understand that Rodgers and Klopp neither one like him or see any use for him or don't know how to utilize him. But I would like to see him earn his move to another club. I mean, he was fantastic at Fenerbahce. You know, when he wasn't hurt, he did well. I mean, why couldn't he maybe, you know, go to a team? I'm just going to say Barcelona just because it's the first team that came to my mind. I don't know why, but it did. But a player with those type of feet and that kind of talent with the ball at his feet, why could he not do well there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I really do hope that he gets to showcase himself. I hope he has a great European, you know, run in the Champions League, and that he does well and showcases himself. I mean, I want that for the player that obviously helped us as well, you know. Just because he goes to the green team doesn't mean I have to hate him now, unless it was something like, you know, Kabusta Tsunoda, what was his name, Christian Rodriguez, or, you know, the way Maxi did it.
I don't I was very sad because I really like him as a player. I really like him a lot, and I didn't like seeing him join Sporting. But
Wait,
Timo,
can I really say something?
yeah, sure, why not?
Who do you guys think he's gonna start over? Because I mean, I don't think he'll start over Gelson because he's contributed to every single goal we've scored this season.
Campbell,
I think
Campbell,
I think Markovic will start over Campbell on the right all day long.
But
yeah.
Gelson start normally it's Gelson on the right and Brian Ruiz on the left. The
Yeah,
only
but
way, the
Chelsea
only
can go.
way.
you'll see Johnson on the left.
Yeah, you'll see Zelson on the left. Timo, I wanted to ask you about Markovic something. Like, it's been brought up since he joined Benfica, and after he started to play. Obviously, he plays on the right. But would you like to see him as a number 10? Is that like plausible for him? Because he's always more dangerous when he makes his storming runs through the middle.
Yeah, I actually do think he could play the number 10 role. He's got good enough feet and he's got excellent vision with the ball. So I do think he could play the 10 role. The only thing there is, you know, I understand the 10 role is not your 8 role or
Yeah.
your prototypical box to box. The only problem I think in Portugal, you don't really see many teams playing with a 10 anymore. You have a lot more. You kind of play more with a spine where you're
Okay,
you know what I mean?
let me rephrase it then. Do you think that Markovic is a player that needs to uh, have his, I guess to not be tied down to one position, that he can move freely whenever he wants, wherever he wants?
And have less defensive responsibility. I think so. I think that's where you're going to see him play at his best when he's allowed to roam in and out. At one point be on the right side, at one point be on the left. I think that's where he'd be the most dangerous.
We've seen goals against Sporting and his assist to Rodrigo against Porto that he did the best when he flew in through the middle.
Yep.
Alex, there's something I want to ask you here because I think it's obvious that Rogers is not really looking at a Urim's age. He apparently doesn't like him. But I did this. So you got Gelson, Mateus, Brian Ruiz, and Bruno Cesar. All right. You got
Yeah.
Gelson and Mateus Pereira that are both very young and very good. You got Brian Ruiz that's about like 32, and you got Bruno Cesar that's about the same age. Then you have Joe Campbell and Markovic, both on loan. Uh, would you have liked to see one of them at least move permanently? Because when I'm looking here at the squad, is that you have nothing to gain after the loan expires. How do you feel about having two possible starters being loanees?
Yeah, I really wish we got an option to buy on both of them, but obviously it would have been expensive. But I can see why JJ loaned out Yuri. I know you guys like him, or at least Peter and Kevin like him. But personally, I think when he's on the ball, he's just I don't know. He takes so long to make decisions, and he doesn't chase after the ball. I don't know. He's just not a player that I like, and I mean, obviously JJ doesn't like him either. But to answer your question, I wish we got option to buy on those loanies. Because if they do very well, we're definitely not going to be able to get a loan, and we're not going to be able to buy them. So, I mean, yeah, we should have gotten an option to buy.
Uh, David, what's your opinion on this on Sporting having two loanees that could start throughout the whole season and then they're gone, they're off somewhere else, and Sporting, if they don't win the title, gain nothing from their loans?
Oh, I think Jesus is making a mistake with this, and I think he should have given Medeiros a chance at least. I mean, we've seen this before at Benfica, the way that Jesus doesn't always trust the young Portuguese players and favours more experienced foreign imports, and I think he's doing that again to Sporting's detriment, really. I think Bruno Cesar and Brian Ruiz are good players, but they're not the future. They're not going to be the future of Sporting. Medeiros could be the future, and I think he can only become the future by playing games for the first team.
Exactly, and I agree with you. And all right, we're gonna beat this thing
I
over
think
and over again.
Gelson's like 10 times better than him, honestly. He's probably 10 times better than Yuri.
They're different
And
players, I guess.
I don't think
Different.
we need two players Like I don't want to be developing players anymore. I want to be winning the title. Like I want to get players that are quality now,
And then
and
you have like a team starting with like 11 players with 35 years old, and then you got like no future. Great, that's good.
obviously you replace them,
Yeah,
throughout the year. But
yeah, yeah.
Peter,
uh,
you got to remember, Peter. He wants to win one championship, so he's okay with it.
But Sporting's MO is not bringing those guys and turning them into quote unquote stars. They've done before, and they should keep. There's nothing that stops them from winning the title, adding that mix of young and old, and continue to develop players. That's why it surprises me hearing Sporting fans go like, I don't care if we want out Yuri Medeiros, if we want out Podiense, if we want out Pedinha, or even Carlos Mané, and get old players. That's just surprising to me. I don't, I'm not used to seeing that from them.
he's the Carlos Mané. He's the young one that we should have kept. I think he's better than Podence and Yuri. We should have kept him, and we could have just, we shouldn't have put that option to buy because he's a quality player and he's probably gonna go at the end of his loan if he does well. So
It's a 2 year loan, but
So, Pete, you had asked a question about, what we think about all these loanees and what happens if they have a good year and then all of a sudden they're gone.
yeah,
I just want to take a moment to say it'll be just like Porto did a couple years ago when they initially had, Ali Torres and
Casemiro.
and Casemiro and the other kid, Tello. They went out and tried getting all of these. Well, I know it was Lopetegui's doing. He went out and tried getting all of these, Spanish players, Brazilians, and all outsiders, for one big year. They couldn't see, and I think that's to the detriment of the team. Now, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to seeing a Benfica that's bringing up youth products, as much as we have been of late. I can tell you that I like the mixture of both. With
That's what I generally prefer.
with players that you actually own rather than loanees. And I understand we have loaned players as well. With options to buy. With Danilo, right? Is it Danilo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So but he's not a starter. He's not your guy who's coming into an essential position that you're then going to lose at the end of the year.
He's a free risk. If he does well, you have
Exactly.
the option.
Exactly.
And just don't forget though that Casemiro had an option to buy. Porto had an option to buy. They bought him, and then Real Madrid bought him back from Porto, so they get profit out of him. That's nothing that Sporting's doing. You got to think about that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that it? Did you want to say nothing more to add?
No, that was just it.
Okay. All right, so moving on to some departures that I want to touch upon, and I just want to obviously point out that Slimani and João Mario, big sales for Sporting, and they're gonna be missed a lot. I already touched upon the Carlos Mané thing. There's one player that is not particularly liked amongst Sporting fans, but I thought that he was capable, and even Georgios really liked him because on his interview he said that he was a big loss. And I'm not going to ask Alex because I know his opinion. I'm going to ask you, Timu. How do you feel about Teo? Do you think that he was a good player? Should they have kept him?
He hurt our team at one point, did he not?
Yeah.
Do I think he's a good player? Yeah, but at some point when you have a player who just doesn't want to be there, you just have to let them go.
Mm.
yeah, we don't need lazy players on our team. So
David, do you think that Teo could have made a difference for Sporting though, or they did well on letting him go?
No, I agree with the others on this. I think you need a happy team. You need players who are playing for the shirt and playing for the fans. And that's one thing that I think that Vittoria is doing at Benfica at the moment, is bringing through players that are bleeding for the shirt. And if his heart isn't in it, then he's not worth his space in the squad, I think.
Yeah, that's great that you touched upon a happy team. How do you see the Adrian Silva drama late on when he publicly stated that it was his time to go away from Sporting, that he spent there 15 years of his life and that he was finished. He wanted to move on to Leicester City. David, how would you have dealt with it if you were Sporting's president?
Well, I understand that the Sporting president wants to keep him on, so I think he probably did the right thing. And I think Adrian is such a professional that he will get his head down and he'll start playing. He's Mr. Consistent, as you said earlier in the show, and I think he needs to be kept. But if I'm a Sporting Geista, that is a big concern for me right now. He's the centre point of the midfield. He's that player that you can always rely upon. And if his head is elsewhere at the start of the season, that could be a big cause for concern for Sporting. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he performs over the next few games and if he's actually unsettled and if that affects his performances.
I'm pretty sure that you've seen that his father said that his relationship with the club itself will not change and with the fans will not change, but he'll never be the same player towards the president and the board. Timo, how would you have dealt with this Adrian Silva situation?
Well, I agree with David. I think BDC did the right thing and he kept him on, knowing that he's probably the most important player to Sporting at this point. The one thing that I would say, probably in defense of Adrian, is who's to say he didn't have some information from the president? Who's to say he didn't have information from, obviously, his agents stating, hey, look, we got your move. We got the loan, not a loan move, Leicester came in. They offered X amount of money. Sporting has already said they're going to accept it. I don't want to say it looked like he was looking for the move. I think the way he was saying what he said was as a player who already knew he was sold.
Yeah,
I didn't take it. I didn't take it as if it was him publicly looking for a move. When I heard it, I'm like, wow. I'm like, this guy really thinks he just got sold. I'm like, holy crap,
And everyone on Twitter was saying that. I know that Ball24, when they first reported, was Adrian said he's gonna leave Sporting, and that's the like what you thought about when you saw it. And he even said, when the president told me that when a deal is good for the club and me, he will not oppose to me leaving. So it felt that the only thing that was missing was pen to paper.
Yes, agreed. And it didn't seem like it was him actually publicly looking for a move. It actually looked like a player who was just told. It looked like a player who had just been told by the president, hey, look, that deal we had, well, guess what? Somebody offered X amount of money for you, and it's right for us. That's how I felt when I saw it. And I'm like, I understand the president's point of view. You don't want to lose that player, but I also feel for the player who at that point had already come to terms with saying, hey, look, I've been here for years and they're selling me because they're going to make good money. So, yes, I'm okay with that. I've been here. I know what I've given to the club. Maybe it is time, for a new horizon, a new opportunity. I kind of took it like that, and I actually kind of felt bad for the player at one point.
I did. I also felt bad for Adrian, and I think that's something you just don't do. But then again, we don't know what happened. I have to assume that, though, it was a goodbye, because he said Sporting fans are not going to pin me down for this. They understand my position, and they'll be okay with it. It really sounded like a goodbye. Obviously, Alex is very happy that he stayed, so I'm not going to ask him a question. I'm going to ask.
Can I say something? I've seen tweets saying that he's happy to stay now, and he's focused on Sporting. So I mean, that's good.
It's called damage control. He has to say that, buddy.
The player has to be professional about it.
Yes.
You can't just go ahead and say, no, I wanted to move. I didn't want to stay here. F this club. You can't do that.
One player in that squad is going to be professional about the situation. Is Adrian. I think he leads by example, and I think, yeah, if this happened to anyone else, I'd be concerned. But I think he will play for the team, and he'll get back to his best.
Yeah, I think Adrian's he's a very good professional. He always was, even when he was on loan at Academica. So yeah, Alex is very happy with that. So I'm gonna ask you, Alex, though, preview really quickly Moreirense and take your time previewing Real Madrid.
So against Moreirense, it should be in 3 points there. They don't get much that's too special that I can think off the top of my head. So yeah, hopefully we win comfortably. Sorry, I can't talk today, I guess. 2-3 nil. But moving on to Real Madrid. Are we away or are we at home?
You're away.
All right, so I'm hoping for a draw. That's my dream is for getting a draw. But you never know. We could shock them actually, but um, you know,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
coach, but whatever.
could you
I'm
say that a
sorry.
bit louder, too? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was saying not with your coach.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But I think we could actually snatch the points off Real Madrid because they're not the most consistent of teams. So I think we actually could. But we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully Ronaldo's not back in time, and boom.
He said he's gonna play about 70 minutes. By the way, just want to put that out.
He'll put out 4 goals in 70
We'll put out Bastos will put out 5. So
against himself.
Yeah, he goes. David, being sort of neutral, I guess you're a bit neutral to this. What do you think of Sporting's chances of beating Real Madrid?
I think they're very, very slim, to be honest. Talking about the squad and the players they've signed, I agree with what people have said, that they've made some good acquisitions, but the problem is they're last-minute signings and they haven't had a chance to play together yet. They need time to gel, and away against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu is not the ideal place to gel. So I think they could get in for a baptism of fire there. Yeah, across the season, I'm sure they'll turn out to be assets for the team, but it's a difficult start for them.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, can you name me your ideal starting 11 for Sporting?
alright, my ideal 11 would be Patricio in goal, Semedo, Quatesh. I would say Douglas, but I just don't think he's ready yet. Then I go Marvin, Scalotto, and then I play William Adrian, and then I play Ruiz, Gelson, Bastos, and Alan Ruiz, I guess. Maybe I put Brian Ruiz as a second striker and put
Markovic?
Gelson on the left, Markovic on the right. Actually, maybe
Okay.
that's
That's a
probably
good
what I do. Actually,
Alright, so moving on to Benfica, obviously. Yay. Alright, so pointing out Benfica squad, obviously, as I did with the others. So we have Júlio César, Ederson, and Paulo Lopes as the goalkeepers. Nelson Semedo, André Almeida, Eliseu and Grimaldo as the fullbacks. Lindelof, Luizão, Jardel, Lisandro, and to an extent Kyle Issa, if he needs to be called up. Isa, Samaris, Celis, Horta, Danilo, and I put Rafa in here in the midfield because I'm not sure where he's gonna play, if he's gonna play wide or behind the striker. So then we got Salvio, Zivkovic, Carrilho, Servi, and Pizzi, and then Jonas, Mitroglou, Raul, Gonçalo Guedes, and Luka Jovic. Now, David, I'll start with you. What do you think of this squad? Is it deep enough? Is it good enough? Would you have changed anything? Would you have signed someone else?
Overall, I'm very happy with the squad. There's really good depth there. There's 2 or 3 players of similar ability in each position. So in general, I'm very happy. I think there's 2 possible weak spots in central midfield and central defence where I feel that if the first team players get injured, then I think the players stepping into those positions are not at the same level, and that could seriously weaken the team. So if you look at the centre midfield, there was 5 players available a few weeks ago, but now we're probably down to 3. Danilo was actually not registered for the Champions League for some.
Yeah, I'm gonna point that out. Yes.
I have no idea what was going on there, so that leaves just 4 players. And Facer may have been injured on international duty with Serbia, so we're still waiting for confirmation on that. But it's not looking good because he wasn't even on the bench last night for Serbia. So that leaves you just Samaris, Celis, and Orta in central midfield. So it's looking very light in central midfield, considering the rest of the squad is so deep in every position. Samaris obviously had a chronic loss of form. I'm not sure what's going on there, but first season he was brilliant. Second season he lost it completely. He couldn't make a 10, 20-yard pass. So I'm worried about him. And Celis obviously is completely new to European football. He's going to need time to adjust. So throwing him in straight at the deep end is also going to be a big gamble. So that's the main area of concern for me, central midfield.
Timo, what are your thoughts on our squad?
I think this is one of the deepest Benfica squads that we've seen in a while. As David pointed out, we have talent in excess at every position. You know, at the fullback positions, you have, depending on who you ask, you have Andre Almeida Semedo. Andre Almeida can also play the left if he has to. Alex Grimaldo, undisputed starter in my opinion. Center backs is probably, in my opinion, the most worrisome position for us, where we have, Jardel and Luizão who are older. Jardel is obviously, as most people know, I don't think gets enough credit, for how good defensively he is. Him and Lindelof together should absolutely be our center back pairing going forward, as long as there's no injuries. Goalkeeping, we have, a 1A and a 1B goalie. I really think we have enough talent everywhere to be able to put on a good show or a good performance in all the competitions that we play in, while giving key players some rest. And again, by that I mean by the older players, like, if Jardel is going to start during the season, maybe for the cups he should get, the game off, let Lisandro get some time, let Luizão get some time. I really do think we have enough. Who?
No? Jonas, because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm the only one that thinks that Rafa could probably fulfill that Jonas role, in cup games and out.
I think he can. I mean, I think Rafa would be, good at coming back, get the ball, and distribute. Now, the only thing there is how would his partnership work with Mitroglou? Obviously Jonas and Mitro know each other pretty well now, and they know, where one's going to be when one gets the ball. We might see Rafa do better with somebody like Raul, who's got a little bit more pace to him, where Rafa can give him, maybe a good lob through ball or whatever, or I'm sorry, a lob or a through ball or whatever. I think we have enough depth everywhere to compete in all the competitions we're going to be in.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I've said it before last week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4 weeks ago. The only area that I'm a little bit more, on the fence is the 8th role, because I thought we should have signed someone to play there. But I'm hoping that Horta can get the job done. And we still have João Carvalho, which is a very capable midfielder in the B squad. So I'm sure we have some options, even if it comes, having to pull someone out from the B team. Timo, as David mentioned previously, Danilo is off the Champions League squad. So is Kailasa and Zivkovic. Is this something you weren't expecting, or is this normal given to the talent that we have right now?
In the case of Zivkovic, he was injured, right, and then he just came back.
Yes.
I'm not surprised with him, given that he hasn't really been with the squad much, and I honestly think Zivkovic is going to end up on the B team myself. Same thing goes for Kailasa. I think you're going to see him for the most part on the B team. Danilo, I would say I am a bit surprised, only because I figured, somebody like him who can kind of play both, 6 and 8.
It's hard to take someone out. But
no, it's true. Like
playing, because Salles has been playing and Danilo hasn't played yet. I think it's a little bit difficult to take one of those guys out, right?
The strange thing, though, is that Benfica only registered 24 players and they were allowed to register 25.
Yes.
So there was absolutely no reason not to register Danilo.
But that may have had to do with the you have to have a certain amount of homegrown players. I believe 7. You're supposed to have 7 homegrown players in order to field 25. But if you only have 6 homegrown players, you lose a spot. So that might be the case. I'm not positive, though.
That would make sense.
Okay, yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Timo. I did not know that. But yeah, like I was saying, when you have a player like Salles that even gets the nod ahead of Samaris last week, you can't just, throw him out to put in Danilo. So that's why. Okay. And Sergio, 3 seconds ago, just tweeted us saying, believe Zivkovic and Danilo exclusions from the UCL came down to the number of youth developed players. So there you go. I think you are correct on that one, Timo. Now I want to.
Injured in central midfield.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, especially Feza. Let's move on to some of the departures. I want to point out, obviously, Renato and Gaetan leaving is big thing. Rui Font leaving is also good for him. I'm happy that he's gonna get some some time away from Benfica. Maybe he can develop into a better player. Uh, Juricic, I'm just expecting him to be sold eventually. Steven Vitória, as everybody loves to mention him, left Benfica to
Yeah,
go
the
to
Canadian. The Canadian.
your brother. Alajon also left. Cristante also left. Nelson Oliveira also left. There's just only a couple of guys here that I want to discuss besides Lizão, which I'm going to get to as well. But David, I'm going to ask you this one. How do you feel about the Benitez loan? Obviously, he was included in the Rafa deal, but do you think that this is a good move for him to play a full season in the Portuguese league with a great side like Braga?
I think it's the perfect move for him, to be honest. I think Benfica got so much depth, there was no way he was going to get minutes under Vitória at Benfica this season. He's completely, again, new to European football, having played in the Argentinian league before. So he needs to adjust, he needs to adapt, prove what he can do. He can come back into the squad in future if he does well with Braga. And like you say, Braga is a good team for him to prove himself. So, yeah, I have no problem whatsoever with that loan move.
Mm-hmm.
Especially being a team that tends to play, very rough and tough defensive type of football. I think that's perfect for him.
European experience as well because they're in the Europa League.
Yep.
I think it's a perfect deal for Benfica, especially he can't even play against us, so he can't hurt us, so it's a good deal. I want to point out to Talisca. How do you guys feel about him leaving Benfica? Timo, how do you feel about that?
I actually kind of like Talisca. I like what he offers for you when he comes in. The last 15 minutes of the game, and you're down by a goal, and he's that guy we were talking about, or somebody was talking about earlier. Actually, I think we may have been on the call, where you have players that just look like they're afraid to shoot at times. Like for Portugal and such.
Yeah, I spoke about it last week. I don't know if you remember.
Maybe that's what it was. It was last week. It was on last week's pod that I was listening to today. He's the type of player that you want when you're down at 15 minutes to the end of the game. Not afraid to come in and take a shot from 30 yards out, and for the most part, he might put it on frame. However, and this is going completely against what I just said, you also don't have a spot for a player like him who doesn't really have a designated spot on the field that he plays in. He's not a winger because you don't trust him to come back and help out defensively. Is he your Jonas guy? But you're not going to replace Jonas, but he's also not going to come back and win the ball like Jonas does. He's also not. I don't think he's anywhere as good as Jonas with his back to the goal, and his distribution is nowhere what Jonas's is. You also can't play him at number 8 because he doesn't play box to box. He's not the type of player to really overexert himself and try and win a ball like your prototypical 8 will, like Renato did last year, where he would just pretty much if somebody lost the ball, or even if he lost the ball, he'd be the guy trying to race it down. You don't have that kind of willpower or determination from him. So I think it's good, especially if the option to buy clause is true, which is 25 million. I think I've heard.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So honestly, I hope for his sake and for Benfica's that he shows really well, and that we make 25 million off the player. I mean, I do like him, but you gotta know when to cut them loose, I guess.
David, is there anything to add to what Timo said, or you said with this?
I think Timo's nailed it with that answer. I think it just comes down to systems and players fitting into systems. And as I think Timo said earlier in the show, not many teams play with a number 10. Benfica don't play with a number 10 at the moment. Talisca has already come out and said his favourite position is number 10, and that's where he feels most comfortable. And that position is not available in the team. So if you can make money from him, play someone who plays the correct position.
Yeah, okay, so we're all in agreement on this one. And before we get on to preview the Besiktas game and the Twitter questions, I have the Lizão thing, and I think this deserves a couple of minutes. Now, I'm going to give out my opinion. I'm going to let David go, and Timo, if you want to add anything to what we say, please say so. Now, Lizão's agent said that Benfica forced him out of the club. Now, and that Rui Vitória was the only one that protects him. I don't know how true that is. We know how agents are, but in a way, I am not surprised that Benfica would look to ship him out because he's the highest paid player in the club, and he's not contributing at all. I mean, I'm sorry. I really like Luizão. I always did. He's a tremendous player, but he's not giving us anything that others aren't. He's not better than Lindelof. He's not better than Jardel, and he's not even better than Lisandro, which is the weakest out of the three that I just mentioned. So honestly, besides his leadership, there's nothing he can give us, and I wouldn't have minded to see him leave and get off the wage bill. Obviously, I don't want Benfica to force him out, but I'm not surprised if they did approach him in the way that Benfica normally does, to say, "Hey, go get your last contract, and then you'll come back after you've done with football, and you'll get a role here like Mantorres and Nuno Gomes and all the other guys." Now, David, how do you see this Luizão deal? How do you portray this?
No, I agree that he's definitely deteriorated as a player in the last couple of seasons. He's lost a yard of pace. His concentration seems to fail him in games, and he's just not the same player he was a few years ago. So yeah, I agree. He's the fourth strongest centre back in the team, and didn't have a guaranteed place. But as he's been such a great servant to the club, he's a real Benfica legend. I think he deserved just to see out the season and then move into a backroom role, maybe a director of football or a coach, keep his experience and expertise in the dressing room. I think it wouldn't have been too bad to keep him and play him in maybe League Cup games or keep him on the bench. Whether he would have been happy with that himself is another question. But yeah, I don't think also a move to Wolves at this stage in his career, a new league, a very physical, fast league, would have been a good move for him. I think he would have struggled, and for a player of his reputation, I don't think that would have been a good fitting way for him to end his career. So I'm glad he stayed, and I hope he gets some minutes. And I don't think he'll let the team down.
Tim, was there anything you want to add to this, or did we cover everything?
No, you covered it all. I just want to add that I really don't think that anybody on the team was pushing him out. Even Luis Felipe Vieira, I really don't think that's something that he would do to somebody like Luizão. You know, I'd go off and say similar to Nuno Gomes back in the day. If you remember, his contract was up, and rather than them pushing him out at the end of his contract, he's the one who came out and said, "Hey, look, I'm not ready to quit yet, so I'm going to go elsewhere." So I think it's the same case for Luizão. I think the team would be, more than happy to just pay him till the end of his contract, and then if he's not ready to go yet or retire, and he doesn't want to, hang up his boots like he said in that message that he had on whatever social media thing he did, um, you know, then if at the end of the year, if he's still interested in playing, he'll probably go elsewhere. But I have a feeling that this is the end of Luizão's contract, or should I say the end of his career, and I think he's going to finish it out with Benfica. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. Before we get into Twitter questions, Timo, quick thoughts on Arouca, and David, you'll preview Besiktas. Timo, you go first.
Assuming that everybody is healthy, which I believe everyone is except for now, maybe Fesa or Raul, I guess, who just came back from international duty with, I believe, a right thigh injury. I think it'll be 3 points. This is at home, if I believe.
No, it's away at Arouca.
It's away, so that adds a little wrench into it. They beat us last year 1-0. I think that was a fluke. It was the beginning of the year, so it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to say maybe 1-0, maybe 2-1 game, but we're going to definitely come out with the points.
David, your thoughts on the game against the Besiktas?
Oh, I'm really excited about this game, and I think it's a great way to start the Champions League this season because there's so many interesting little subplots going on around this game. You've got obviously the return of Talisca so soon after he's left the club. You've got Abubakar possibly playing, who scored against Benfica last season. You've got Quaresma, who's going to be public enemy number 1 in Stadio de Luz. So yeah, all these players that we know really well in Portugal coming back is going to be exciting. And then for a bit of added spice as well, we had the video from the Besiktas players celebrating when they got drawn against Benfica, which annoys some Benfiquistas on Twitter. I know they were a bit insulted by that. I don't think Rui Vitória or the team will take much notice of that, but that just adds a little bit extra spice on the sidelines. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, definitely it's going to be very good. Now we got a couple of Twitter questions, guys. So we're going to start with the one from Sergio Jafost. He asked, "There's no perfect team amongst the Benfica, Porto, and Sporting. What's the one weakness that stands out for each team?" I'll go for Kevin. In my opinion, the weakness that stands out for Porto is the fullback position and the center back position. I think they lack depth in there. Alex, what's the one weakness that Sporting has in your opinion?
I'd probably say up top, because losing Slimani is a big loss.
Mhm. Uh, and David, what's Benfica's one weakness?
I think lack of depth in central midfield and central defence. I talked about central midfield before, but also in central defence, I think Jardel and Lindelof are the first choice, like Timo said, and I think Lissandro and Luizão are just not at the same level. So
Mhm.
I've said before, I'm not a big fan of Lissandro at all. I think he makes rash challenges. I think he gets caught out of position. He loses his man at corners and free kicks, and
Yeah,
I never feel confident with him in the team. So the sooner Jardel gets back, the better. I think.
yeah, I agree. I think Timo agrees as well, right,
One
Timo?
100%. I think Lisandro is a little too much like David Luiz. We'd have to go back, a few years to when he played at Benfica. It was the same thing. Half the time he's way too far up the pitch to play defensively, and I think Lisandro is the type of player that likes, to carry the ball, which I think Lisandro does a bit of. No, I'm sorry, which I think Lindelof does a bit as well. I just think Lindelof's pace is a lot
Quicker.
more beneficial to his opportunities to go up. And I think Jardel is your prototypical center back who knows what his job is, which is to defend his back line. And I think his partnership with Lindelof is obviously key to Benfica going for the Tetra, in my opinion. But I
Uh-huh.
also do think that we're a little lacking in the 8 role. I like Horta. I'm just not positive that he's going to be the one. But then again, you could have Rafa. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And now Kevin Nivek SLB asked you a question, David. And we touched upon this before we went on air, but to answer it now, what brought you to become a Benfiquista, David?
It was a case of love, really. So I started dating a Portuguese girl, Paula, back in January 2010, and soon after I started following Benfica. My first team in England was Portsmouth, and I still support them, but I've adopted Benfica as my second team, and my wife's family, they're all big Benfiquistas, and they actually live in an apartment 100 meters from the Stadio Luz. So whenever I go to visit them, I just need to look out the window and the stadium's there. So I couldn't pick any other team really.
Or another wife.
Exactly.
We did well. Timo, Kevin asked you a question. Obviously, at POR Soccer, and unfortunately, he can't be with us today. But he asked you, will SLB start Rafa? And if you do, which side of the attack you start him in, or do you slide him into the midfield?
So my whole thing with Hoffa, he needs to be on the left, in my opinion. I don't think Servi is going to be our starter. As much as I like him, I still think he's too young. So I think you're going to see Hoffa on the left, and then our right side is going to depend on who's at left back. If your left back is Andre Almeida, you'll have Salvio. If your left back, if our right back is Andre Almeida, we'll have Salvio. If our
Mm-hmm.
right back is Medu, we'll see Pizzi. I think having both, say, Savio and Semedo on the right leaves us with a huge gap along that side. So Rafa on the left and whoever's on the right is going to depend on your fullback.
Alex, this one's from Kevin, but directed at you this time. And he asked, do you think that it was too early to let Slimani go? Why not wait until January?
I think it was probably the right time because you never know, he could be picking up an injury before January, and we wouldn't be able to sell him. So I think now is the right time.
Could be getting suspended as well.
Oh yeah, he could be doing that. He'll be doing that in England instead now.
Not allowed in England.
David, this one goes at you. Also, Kevin, once again. He asked, is Sporting going to slip up and drop below Porto and Benfica now that they lost Slimani and João Mário?
I think they are. I think they're going to struggle in the opening weeks, just like I said before, because they've got so many new players. It's going to take them time to gel. And as we know, the top three in Portugal are so far above the rest that a few points dropped in the first few weeks, and that's really. I mean, the fact that Benfica came back last season was miraculous, and I think a couple of drop points in the opening months, and that's going to make it very difficult for Sporting to come back.
Mm-hmm. Timo, this one's specifically directed to you because it's from Kevin, and he said this one is specifically for Timo. Do you think Zay is overreacting with PT loss? As it's still too early?
I didn't watch the game, so I'll reserve this question for a little later. But on just quick assessment, no, I think he's overreacting. I mean, you can't go based on one bad game.
Kevin once again asked us, do you guys think Sporting should park the bus for the full 90 minutes of Real Madrid and try and get a draw? Alex, you agree with this? Alex?
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted. I was actually on Twitter reading these questions myself. So can you repeat it? Man, I gotta start paying attention on this podcast.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did you want me to read them out again?
Just read out the last one, yeah.
Do you guys think Sporting should park the bus for the full 9 minutes at Madrid and just try and get a draw?
I say go out there for the first 20 minutes and, just test the waters, and then after that, if we're just getting battered, then sit back.
The answer there should be no, because if you're going to sit back and park the bus, Real Madrid still has way too much talent to unlock that bus. You need to at least put a little bit of pressure up top on them so that it opens up their end of the field. You got to remember that.
David, do you agree with the guys?
I agree with Timo. Yeah, I think you need a balance between attack and defence. I think if you invite them onto you, they're going to find a way through. Yeah, I think they need to try and hit Real on the break as much as they can and try and cause some problems for Real's defence. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long 90 minutes for them.
Okay. This one's directed to every single one of us. I'll start. Kevin asked, how do you rank the top three wingers incoming? Rafa, Jota, and Markovic. Rafa has to be top in my opinion just because he's proven in the Portuguese league. Markovic has to come in second because he's also proven in the Portuguese league and for Benfica. And third goes Jota because he is proven in our league, but for a smaller club, so we don't know what he's going to do at Porto. David, what's your top three on this one?
I'd definitely put Rafa first, just because, like you say, he's been playing in the Portuguese league. He's proven he can do it with Braga, and if he can do it with Braga, then there's no reason he can't do it with Benfica. The other two, Jota and Markovic, I put them pretty much the same level. The thing is, Markovic definitely has the talent. It's just what has happened with him, with his confidence over the last few years. Is he going to instantly hit the ground running with Sporting, or is it going to take him some time? I think the fact that he has a coach that he trusts, he's in a city that he knows, in a league he knows, is going to work in his favour. But then Jota was also scoring goals and getting assists all over the place last season for a team which was a lot weaker than the big three. So if he can do it for them, he can definitely do it. Definitely do it for Jota.
Yeah, I agree with David. I think Markovic is just slightly ahead of Jota. I'm just not sure where he is at this point with his footballing skills. I mean, we know he's got the skill and the talent, but to get back in the game after really sitting down for the most part, I can't put him too far ahead of Jota at this point.
Mm-hmm. And Alex, to you. How do you make this top three?
I agree with the rest of you guys. Rafa, Markovic, and then Jota. But, I mean, I think Markovic is, it's not like it's a sliver ahead of Jota. I think it's, I think he's much better than Jota, personally.
You gotta think that he played for Benfica, so obviously I think he has to be a step ahead of Jota. Kevin asked us about the Leicester situation. Obviously, we already discussed it, so there's no point going into that. Then Carl, which couldn't be here, asked us, and I'm gonna direct this one to Timo and David because it's for both of you guys. Do you think that José Gomes has what it takes to be called up this early, possibly like Renato Sanches. David, I'll let you go first.
I think it's a bit early, to be honest. He's only just started playing for Benfica B, and although he's looked quite impressive, I think he's only 17 years old. He's got plenty of time to develop. I think what happened with Renato was amazing, and the fact that he performed so well at such a young age was incredible. But I think for that to happen twice is not very likely. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
Benfica have so many options up front that they don't necessarily need to push him at this stage.
Timo?
I agree. I don't think it's time yet. No need to rush. We've seen what can happen when you rush a player. Vitor Andrade, Gonçalo Guedes last year. Let's give these kids a little bit of time to, adapt more to the football itself, and then maybe, a little bit of time here and there. I don't want to see a player like Zagum, who could be, touted as, like the André Silva is at Porto. Let's give the kid a little bit more time to mature into his adult body, first of all, and then also as a footballer before we decide to throw him to the Sharks.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you guys. Once again, this one's for you, Timo. And this for
Jesus,
Kevin. This one's for Team ECC knows. From 1 to 10, how bitter was I when Rafa signed for Sylvia?
how giddy were you?
No, how was he, Kevin?
Which
How bitter
Kevin?
was he?
Which?
PUR underscore soccer,
Oh,
mate.
oh, he was pissed off pretty much. To the point where he legit said f off to Braga and close them out, don't loan them any players. They're dead to him or whatever. Yeah, he was pretty ticked off.
Yeah. This one isn't a question, but I wanted to take this one and end the podcast, on this one. It's Sergio saying Ruben Amorim, obviously, Tarabt, Diricic, and Bilal are all bums. Send them out to Union de Leiria. Uh,
Hey,
team.
sorry to cut you off, but I gotta jump off now.
Okay, that was fine.
Yeah, hey, it was a pleasure being on. I thank you guys again for asking me to come on. So it was a
All
pleasure.
right, all right. Thanks for coming
Okay,
on, buddy.
Nice
don't
talking
worry
to you,
about
David.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
See you,
Bye.
Timo. Okay, I was gonna direct it at Timo. I'll direct it to you, David. Last question of the podcast, and not really a question, but what are your thoughts on Ruben Amorim, Tarap, Diricic, and Bilal? All of them.
I don't think they're all bums, with the exception of Tarapt. I think it's harsh on the others. Maybe they don't fit into the club, or things haven't worked out for them. But in the case of Tarapt, I think he definitely qualifies as a bum. Probably the worst one that Benfica have had, and I can't believe that we signed him on a 5-year contract. That was suicidal. The sooner we get him out of the club, the better. I think he's just
Mhm.
a parasite, really. So, yeah, I don't think he will go to Liria somehow. But if we can get him to anyone to take him for any amount, even on a free transfer, just get his wages off the wage bill, get rid of him,
Yeah.
and forget about him. Pretend
Yeah.
he's never here.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a little bit harsh for him to call Ruben Amorim, given that he did a lot for our club?
Very harsh. I don't understand that at all. He was a good servant. He had a bit of a bust up with Jorge Jesus, but who hasn't really? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think he was a solid player, and I don't have any hard feelings towards him at all.
Yeah. And with Bilal, he's still a young kid. He joined Benfica last year. He was 17. He's now 18. So give him time, right?
He's still got plenty of time. I'm not sure there's anything particularly gone wrong there. I've read no reports of him going clubbing or out late before a match in the way that Taarabt does.
He's friends with Tarabt, and Tarabt he
Well,
gets the ride home from him.
there's the problem, then. You just need to get rid of Taarabt, and that solves the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So unless there's anything that you guys want to add, is there anything you guys want to say?
Can I say something quickly?
Yes. Go ahead.
Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Rosinho00. That's all.
And shameless plug then, don't forget to follow me at Peter1678, and Kyle is Kyle underscore Chaves, and don't forget to follow Kevin POR underscore soccer, and our big friend here, David, that is, what is your at? Hold on,
P
I'll find it.
Pritchett SLB, but also please follow at Planet Benfica, which is the main English language Benfica website out there, and I really recommend going to see that. And if I could just also put in an advert here, if anyone's looking to write about Benfica in English for our website, we're always looking for writers. So if you want to get involved, send an email to info@planetbenfica.com or david@planetbenfica.com and ask for more information. We're always looking for more writers.
Yeah, it's definitely a great website. I've checked it out several times. You always get a shout from the Benfica podcast, but we'll give you a shout here as well. Do not forget to follow Planet Benfica on Twitter and their website. I want to complete this by letting you guys know that Chaves played their the first round game against Nacional that was postponed, and they beat Nacional 1-0. And as it stands, it's Sporting first with 9 points, Benfica second, Vitória de Setúbal third, and Braga fourth with all 7 points, and then Guimarães finished the top 5 with 6 points, and Porto right after that. And bottom two, Estoril with 0 points, and Nacional with also 0 points. I think that's all that we got for this week. Yeah, this was a pretty long one. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Then we're done.
No, thanks for having me on, and I'm very happy to come back again in future.
Yeah, definitely want you back on later on.
Cheers.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks. Bye.